Maryland football went 2-0 this weekend, but not without a nightmare start. Maryland volleyball and field hockey both had winning weekends, and women's soccer won its third game in a row, which hasn't happened since 2017. All that and more coming up on this edition of The Left Bench.
We need tough games like that. I'd rather us not do it here at home.
I think our strength as a team is just some days it's going to be C, some days it's going to be Layla, some days it's going to be Schnitz.
Hello everyone and welcome back to The Left Bench, brought to you by Terps and Sports Central. I'm Keara Bruno, that's Ricky Podgorski, and Ricky, it feels so good to be back.
You know, Keara, I've been thinking about this moment all summer, being back behind the desk finally. My first time I ever anchored in Studio A was with you, so I'm very excited to be back behind the desk with you. I'm so excited for this year. I just can't wait.
I know, me too, and clearly we're excited about these shows coming back. So let's get started with football, who fans probably weren't too excited about during that game on Saturday.
It was not a pretty start by any means. Saturday Night Lights, primetime television, Maryland hosting Charlotte. What could go wrong for the Terps? Well, a lot in the first 3 minutes. Charlotte capitalized on its first drive of the game for the first score of the game with a 48-yard TD, 7-0 49ers. Maryland with the ball now, and Talia Tagovailoa's first pass is intercepted and taken to the house. Now 14-0 49ers, just a few minutes into this one. Maryland would settle for 3 field goals in the first half and would trail 14-9 heading into the break. The Terps needed a spark, something to get the ball rolling, and backup QB Billy Edwards Jr. did just that, punching in the first touchdown of the game for Maryland, giving them the lead. From then on out, it was Roman Hemby. Hemby rushed for 163 yards and a touchdown and was the offensive engine in the second half. The late game surge would blast Maryland past Charlotte, bringing the Terps the second win of the season, 38-20. Here's head coach Mike Loxley with more on the win.
You know, we need tough games like that. I'd rather us not do it here at home. I'd rather us kind of play to our standard and not be up and down the way we were today. And what we've got to do now is, like I said, get this behind us quickly and figure out what went wrong, and then make the necessary adjustments with Virginia coming in here Friday night.
A huge help for the Terps on Saturday was their rushing attack stepping up, and Roman Hemby led the charge. Jonas Evans has more.
Maryland football's rematch with Charlotte on Saturday night saw the Terps come out to a much slower start than they did against the 49ers a year ago. After a shocking pick six from Talia Tagovailoa, the Terps found themselves down 14-0 only 3 minutes into the game. But that's when Coach Loxley shifted his focus to the running backs, and it worked. The Terps' run game stopped the bleeding quickly, and all of a sudden it was Charlotte who couldn't keep up.
We played with pretty good tempo. I don't know, you know, they didn't have a lot of depth. We knew that going in. Our plan was to try to play with tempo, and I think what happened is we continued to just stick with the run game. We laid on them.
Leading the charge for the Terps' rushing attack was once again Roman Hemby. The redshirt sophomore brought the energy and the yards as he led both teams in rushing, including a late touchdown that sealed it and put the 49ers to bed.
Roman did a really good job of reading it the second half. A couple of times I thought he left some yardage on the field early in the first half where he kind of pumped it up in there and the ball should have maybe sunk a little bit in there. But I thought we did a good job of continuing to press on them with the run game today, and the run game opened up some things for us down the field.
Hemby finished the night with 2 receptions for 55 yards and a team-high 162 yards rushing, his highest all-purpose yardage in a game for the Terps.
Just trusting the game plan, and, you know, I feel like we were able to wear the defense out a little bit towards the end of the game, and, you know, I run behind a great offensive line, so I was able to just make some plays when I needed to make them.
In the first half, I thought we missed a couple of reads there by the running backs, and a couple of times we weren't on the right people. Josh did a good job continuing to come back to it, even though it wasn't pretty early. And I think at the end of the day, we kind of wore them down. And, you know, like I said, it's usually about us more than it is about the other team.
For Terps and Sports Central, I'm Jonas Evans.
A lot of football this weekend and a lot more to talk about, which is why we are now joined by the managing editor of Testudo Times, Emmett Siegel. Emmett, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Emmett, we have to start off with the Charlotte game on Saturday. It was a very, very rocky start in that first half for the Terps, but especially those first few drives. they went down 14-0. So what did you take from that first half performance?
Well, it went about as poorly as it possibly could have for Maryland. The first drive, Charlotte is a team that pretty much exclusively runs the ball. Their quarterback does not throw the ball much, and they score a long touchdown pass to open up the game and open up the scoring. And then, like you said, on Maryland's first play from scrimmage, it's a pick six from Talia Tungavailoa. That's about as poorly of a start as you could draw up for any team. Maryland definitely played better in the second half, but that first half kind of showed all the reasons to be worried about that game.
Let's rewind a little bit to Towson. The O-line looked pretty shaky in Game 1, but a little bit better in Game 2. How do you think the O-line improved from Game 1 to Game 2?
Well, the O-line has been the biggest question mark for this team going into the season, and I would say it still probably is. But you started to see a little bit less rotation. They tightened up their rotation a bit. The first game you had 8 or 9 players playing consistently, and then in the second game, then you're getting that down to 6 or 7. I think they're starting to find the players that they can trust the most, and they're still waiting to get their starting right tackle back from injury, but they're definitely starting to kind of find their groove and maybe find out who the players they can trust the most are.
So now we're going to take it back to the summer, Big Ten Media Day. Mike Loxley says that this team, he thinks, is ready to compete for a Big Ten championship. We know it's the start of the season, but they have 2 games under their belt now. Do you think that this team is living up to that standard already, or do you think that they can live up to that standard eventually?
Well, it's only 2 games into the season, and we know it's a 12-game regular season, so there's still a lot to be decided about what this team will be and what the story of this team will be. But if you were to take away just what you've seen from the first 2 games, this team is not playing like a Big Ten championship team, especially what you saw in that first half against Charlotte. Now, like I said, there's still 10 more regular season games to go. There's still a lot of potential on this team, a lot of talent, so there's no reason to believe that they can't get to that level or at least get close to that level where they can compete with the top teams in the conference. But at this point, I think you would definitely have to say they still have a lot to prove.
Emmett, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, anytime.
You can keep up with Emmett's coverage all season long with Maryland football at Emmett Siegel _ on X.
All right, and now we're going to take it back to the summer once again. It was wild for college athletics, and conference realignment changed the entire collegiate landscape.
Alex Gary is here to break down all the major movement from this summer. Alex?
Yeah, guys, college athletics as we know it is about to change over the next few years. Some conferences got a lot better, some are struggling to still exist. But let's take a look at what happened to some of the major conferences. So let's start off with Maryland's own conference, the Big Ten. Or maybe we should start calling it the Big 18, as 4 new schools are joining the conference. The arrival of USC and UCLA was already known as of last year, but they're bringing some of their former Pac-12 rivals with them. Oregon and Washington are joining the Big Ten. Their arrival shifts the entire dynamic of college athletics in the conference on every sports level. First, with Oregon, they're one of the most versatile schools in the nation and can compete in almost every sport for the Big Ten title each season. The same can be said about Washington as well. Both schools have received votes for the Capital One Cup, meaning heightened competition all around. Next up, the Big 12. They were hit the hardest when their biggest brands in Texas and Oklahoma announced they were leaving. But they remained aggressive from the beginning. This season they officially added BYU, UCF, Cincinnati, and Houston. And during the Pac-12 fire sale, they pounced hard and added Arizona State, Arizona, Utah, and the biggest name in college football right now, Colorado. In an effort to compete with the growing Big Ten and SEC, the Big 12 looks to add their name as that 3rd major conference. Now, the next conference that is following the footsteps of the Big Ten is the Coast-to-Coast Conference, is the ACC. Now, just on the Atlantic, no more, as Cal and Stanford are joining the conference. After the loss of all the other Pac-12 schools, Cal and Stanford were the next dominoes to fall as they joined the ACC. Stanford is one of the most prized college athletics programs. They are perennial Capital One Cup winners, winning 3 in the past decade and finishing 2nd this past year for men's and women's athletics. Cal may not be on the same par as Stanford overall, but they've been competing in the Pac-12 for their entire tenure, which means they'll prove similar competition in the ACC. Now, SMU is among the most interesting pick because they're not even getting a dime from the ACC media rights for the next 9 years. This will cost the university millions. FSU and Clemson aren't also really happy about all this realignment. It's been reported that they want out in favor of the SEC. Nothing has happened yet, but the loss of these 2 programs would be major hit to the ACC efforts of remaining an elite conference. Now last up, the Pac-12. They have clearly been hit the hardest by conference realignment. The 12-team conference is down to 2 programs, Washington State and Oregon State. With the departure of 10 teams, the Pac-12 is on the verge of extinction. But the ball is in Oregon State and Washington State's court. A conference cannot exist with 2 teams, so the Pac-12 will either expand, merge, or dissolve altogether. Now, Ricky, Keara, many are saying that conference realignment is the death of college athletics. But many are also saying that conference realignment is actually saving college athletics. One thing is certain, though. These next few years will certainly be interesting. Back to you guys.
And Ricky, I mean, another thing to think about here is it's not just the teams traveling, all of that, but it's also the toll that it can take on the athletes.
I mean, if you think about a player from Maryland will have to travel all the way across the country to California, it's definitely something to keep an eye on between the games and the student athletes. Thank you so much, Alex.
And stay with us because when we come back, we'll take a look at a new ice cream flavor in town, and a possible future Terp.
And we'll recap an eventful weekend for volleyball, women's soccer, and field hockey. Don't go anywhere.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Hey world, I have a quick message. It's about safe driving. All right, let's go. Anytime you're driving, have the seatbelt buckled tight. Both hands on the wheel and your phone out of sight. When not in your hand trying to text somebody back. Because if you do, your car might get smacked. The moral of the story, just put your phone down. The people on the road will stay safe and sound. Put your phone down, put your phone down. People on the road will stay safe and sound. Yeah.
Hello and welcome back to the Left Bench, presented by Terps Sports Central. I'm Ricky Podgorski, joined alongside by Keara, Bruno. And Keara, it was an extremely busy college football weekend, one that here on the East Coast had some weather delays, but football wasn't the only sport that was affected by inclement weather. Yeah,
one of those other teams was Maryland men's soccer. Friday night's highly anticipated DMV showdown between Maryland men's soccer and Georgetown was postponed indefinitely due to inclement weather. In true crew fashion, the stands were packed to support the Terps and, of course, chirp at the Hoyas, but both programs will attempt to reschedule the match at a later date. With an unconvincing start to this season, the Terps have fallen out of the rankings in the latest national poll, but they'll have another chance to prove themselves as they host the Michigan Wolverines on Thursday night. Our Alex Wooten will have the coverage.
Keeping it on the pitch here, and Maryland women's soccer has won its 3rd game in a row. The Terps took on Binghamton up in New York on Sunday, and Ava Morales was the hero in this one. A defensive battle, but a handball gave Maryland the chance for a penalty kick. Morales lined up the shot and punched it in, bringing Maryland the 1-0 win over Binghamton. This is Morales' 3rd straight game with the score and Maryland's 3rd straight win this year. A hot start for Megan Ryan-Nemser and company.
The wins for the Terps just keep coming. Maryland volleyball's first game was against Coastal Carolina, where they almost blew the 2-0 lead, but were able to secure the W in the 5th set thanks to a winning hit from Sydney Dowler. The second game was pretty much smooth sailing as they swept Princeton, and now that brings us to Sunday's game against Howard. In the first set, Howard came out hot early, but once Maryland hit a 5-0 run, there was just no stopping them. Terps take the first set 25-17. Come the second set, the Bison started to clap back. They went on a 5-0 run themselves to take the 11-9 advantage. But with a service ace from Lily Gunter, block assists from Sire and Ellie Watson, and a kill from Sire, the Terps took the second set 25-20. The third set was more back and forth to start, but the Terps came back, scoring the last 6 points and recording 13 total kills. Maryland takes the last set 25-15 and go undefeated on the weekend.
Number 4, Maryland field hockey got off to a quick start, facing off against Yale in its second game of the Terrapin Invitational after beating Miami of Ohio on Friday. Margot Lawn scored the first goal midway through the first quarter to put the Terps up 1. Both teams drew plenty of penalties in the second. 9 corners in this corner alone gave both squads multiple scoring opportunities, but only Maryland could turn those opportunities into points. Josie Holloman sent this shot right to the back of the cage to put the Terps up 2-0 at the half. The third was quiet until the final seconds. Yale drew its only penalty corner of the period and put up a goal on a second chance effort. And in the fourth, the penalty corner trend continued. Another attempt ending with a point for the Terps, this time from Hope Rose. The junior followed up her hat trick from Friday with the final goal in this one, giving Maryland a 3-1 win over the Bulldogs.
3 words: full court press. And no, Maryland men's basketball didn't play a game, but Kevin Willard's new Maryland Dairy ice cream flavor is officially out. The team was supposed to hand out free ice cream samples along with signing autographs at the football game, but it got canceled due to the weather. Willard's ice cream flavor is made up of blackberry, peanut butter cups, vanilla, and banana. The team said they will try to make it up at a later game. And Ricky, I tried this ice cream flavor over the weekend, and as the ice cream connoisseur, wasn't a big fan of it. I gave it a 4 or 5. I don't know what it was.
I gave it a 4.7. It wasn't my thing. I mean, fruit ice cream and peanut butter.
Yeah.
Little
should have been Oreos,
iffy,
I
but
think.
not even. I'm not a big fruit guy with ice cream. Anyway, regardless, Willard got his new ice cream flavor, but he's hoping to get a new player too. 4-star recruit Jaden Mustaf of Overtime Elite made his official visit to Maryland last weekend. Mustaf is the son of former Terp Jared Mustaf, who was a first-round draft pick and played in the NBA for 11 years. Maryland has made Mustaf's final 6 schools. He will make his recruitment decision on Thursday.
Don't go anywhere, because when we come back, our crew members will be debating some fall sports predictions with one another, and things are gonna get a little bit heated.
And as always, we'll crown our Pro Terp, Terp of the Week, and the top 5 plays. Stay with us.
I tell my son, I love you every single day. I love you. Now, my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
I think I finally found.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Mason.
Hey, Mason.
Got a new house. It's looking pretty cool so far.
A place that I call home.
I'm teaching Louise how to cook some lasagna.
It only takes a spark to make a fire start.
Thank you.
Study, please.
I think I finally found a place to make my own. A place that I call home. This place that I call home.
Hey world, I have a quick message. It's about safe driving. All right, let's go. Anytime you're driving, have the seatbelt buckled tight, both hands on the wheel and your phone out of sight. When not in your hand trying to text somebody back, because if you do, your car might get smacked. The moral of the story, just put your phone down. The people on the road will stay safe and sound. Put your phone down, put your phone down. People on the road will stay safe and sound. Yeah.
Welcome back to the Left Bench, presented by Terrapin Sports Central. I'm Keara Bruno, here with Ricky Podgorski, and we have some special guests.
Happy to bring TSC senior producer Nathan Schwartz and TSC editor-in-chief Brandon Schwartzberg onto the show to introduce a brand new segment called Time's Up. Fellas, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, I'm glad to be here back on the desk for the first time. Not anchoring, but I'm ready to yell at the sky.
All right, so let me introduce the game. So I have my little topics right here, 3 pieces of paper. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna say the topic. These two are gonna go ahead and go at each other for 60 seconds. We have our handy alarm clock here. Now, it's kind of a faulty one, so we're gonna time 60 seconds ourselves. So yeah, you guys ready?
Let's do it. Absolutely.
All right, let's start with our first question. 60 seconds. Will Maryland football over or under 8.5 wins on the year? 60 seconds, start now.
I'm going to start with this one. I'm going under. I don't think they can do it. We know what Maryland football has been. The program has been on the rise for the last couple years. But that game against Charlotte on Saturday was really concerning to me. And Talia continues to turn the ball over game after game. 11 interceptions 2 years ago, 8 last year. Those 2 on Saturday. He just, frankly, hasn't been cutting it for me at the quarterback position. And the schedule, you look at Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan. The Nebraska and Illinois games can be harder too. So I think they can get to 7. 8 is definitely a possibility. No chance they get to 9.
See, this is why you're wrong. You know, you mentioned that Charlotte game. That's why you schedule those easier non-conference games to get those jitters out of the way. I believe they went
jitters, all right. That's for sure.
That's for sure. Yeah, they went undefeated, I believe, last year facing the Big Ten West.
They lost to Purdue.
You're right. They're not playing. I'm sorry. They're not playing Purdue this year, are they? No, they're not. And so if they go undefeated against the Big Ten West, that's 9 wins right there. And then I believe they're gonna beat one of Michigan, Penn State, or Ohio State.
No. They play 3 in the Big Ten West. Northwestern, Illinois, Nebraska. 3 non-conference. And if they win against, I don't even know who they play, Virginia, that's 6. That's 6, not 9. Can't even do math.
All right, moving on. Question number 2.
Number 2. This is why we invited you guys on. This is great. So
I don't even know why I'm talking to this guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
All right, number 2, Nate. Does Maryland men's soccer clinch a share of the Big Ten title for the 2nd straight year? Go.
I say no because they lost 5 of their top 6 scorers from a season ago. It's a whole new team. They're under 500 for the first time since 2020. And so just by that standard, I don't think they are. You know, Indiana's still there. I'd like to see Nate's reasoning because, again, their offense really has not been existent to start the season.
2 words, Sasho Sorosky. You're such a casual for that take because you don't even realize that they have the best men's soccer coach in all of Division I. He's got over 450 career wins. They've gotten into the top 2 of this conference multiple times in the last couple years. And this team, yes, they have lost a lot, but they have Kamani Stewart-Baines, a whole influx of youth, the returners and Kolvik and Nitzel and a whole bunch of other guys that I'm not going to get into because of timing purposes. But I mean, this team has talent in place. They're going to have some problems in conference, probably. They didn't lose a conference game last season. 4 wins, 4 draws. There's no reason why they can't have that same success this fall.
I just got one more thing. A coach is only as good as his players. You can say he's been there. He's a great head coach.
Sasho, I hope you're watching this, and I hope if you see him at a men's soccer game this fall, you give him a piece of your mind, because that is extremely disrespectful.
Sasho, you are a great head coach. You don't have the players to do it this year. I'm sorry.
All right, fellas. Well, we're looking out for your safety here because the crew might find you. Anyway, last question here for you two. Who will be the most impactful fall transfer? Starting now.
I think there's a lot of guys we could talk about. I'm going to steer away from football. I'm going to go women's soccer. I'm going to go Katie Coyle, transfer from Notre Dame. She was one of the top subs for that team last year that went all the way to the Elite Eight, and she's started at center back for Nega Nemser and company so far this fall, and she's been absolutely phenomenal. Even scored a goal off of a corner kick against Navy back a couple weeks ago. She missed some time due to an injury, but she's been anchoring that back line along with the freshman Kennedy Bell. And I think this team has some momentum, won 3 straight matches, going into conference play starting later this week. If Coyle and the rest of the defense can play the way they did in non-conference, I think this team has a chance to make some noise in the Big Ten tournament.
I'm going to go to football for this one. I'm going to go Corey Bullock, transfer from North Carolina Central. We saw how much Talia has been running early on in the season. That interior, especially of the offensive line, has not looked good at all. He started both games. He's one of the fresh legs that they have. They lost 3 starters last year to the NFL and another to the transfer portal. So I think that if Maryland, they're going to reach that 9-win mark. When they do, it's going to be because of Corey Bullock.
Look, both very good options.
They get to 9 wins because of this one transfer?
Because he shores up the offensive line, yes. because we can both agree that's a weakness of them right
All
now.
right,
It's
fellas.
a weakness.
Okay, fellas. Like the name of this segment, I'm afraid our time.
We need
is
more
up.
time, Ricky. We need more time.
We need more
Oh,
time.
you guys will be back. Don't worry.
We will be back. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course, this was a blast.
It was a
Thank
blast.
you.
Yeah.
We will most likely 100% be doing this again with you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right, it's about that time now for us to crown our Terp of the Week. Our first pick for this year had to be Maryland volleyball Sam Sire, who led the team in kills all weekend long. Sire played a key role in Maryland's win against Coastal Carolina. She recorded 13 kills and 16 digs, and she didn't stop there. Princeton was next, and Sire earned a season-high 18 kills and 10 digs to go with that. In the last game of the weekend, she added 9 kills and 6 digs to the stat sheet. Congrats to Sam on being crowned our Terp of the Week.
And our pro Terp led his defensive unit to an opening day win, and it's Darnell Savage. Savage led the Green Bay Packers' entire defense and tackles on Sunday, tallying 10 total and 1 for loss. He was the centerpiece in stopping the Bears' run game and in the 38-20 Green Bay win. To former TSC executive producer, WLUC TV sports director, and Chicago Bears fan Kevin McNulty, we apologize for Darnell Savage's stellar performance and the Bears' loss. Congrats to Darnell on being crowned our pro Terp of the week. Now, Keara, favorite part of the show, first top 5 picks and top 5 plays of the year. Keara, let's get into it.
All right. In at number 5, we have Roman Hemby escaping the defense for the touchdown against Charlotte. I mean, we're going to take this into slow motion right now. Look at this. He swivels, whatever you want to call it, right in the end zone. Look at Roman Hemby go.
Never heard swavel before, but
I make
all
it
right,
work
let's go to
sometimes.
women's soccer now. Ava Morales, top right in the goal, PK for Maryland women's soccer. Their 3rd straight win, Morales with her 3rd straight goal in 3 games. What a PK for Morales.
All right, next we have Margot Lawn. She has the bobble, the weave, the score. I mean, that's a little interesting take on words there too. Here it is in slow-mo again. Look, she even falls on the ground, still makes that goal, her 2nd of the season.
Let's go over to volleyball now. Sydney Dowler with the game-winning kill. Zoom it in there and enhance that slow motion right through 2 defenders with the spike and the game winner. Sydney Dowler, number 2.
And in at number 1, we have Kaden Prather, 40-yard touchdown. I mean, the West Virginia transfer, perfect ball from Tagovailoa. And this was a great play. We got a great shot of this, too. Here it is in slow-mo again. Beautiful. What a touchdown by Kaden Prather. And that will do it for this edition of The Left Bench. Nathan Schwartz and Jonas Evans have you covered for next week.
Make sure to keep up with all of Terrapin Sports Central's coverage on X, Instagram, YouTube, and online at terrapinsportscentral.com.
See you same time, same place next week.